From the new recording lair located deep beneath the Wine and Spirit store in Ephrata, Pennsylvania.
You're listening to the Masonic Light Podcast.
Studio 665 presents Masonic Light Podcast. This show is recorded by Masons, for Masons. It is for entertainment purposes only. And please, no wagering.
This podcast is not endorsed by any Grand Lodge, and the ridiculous ramblings of the hosts are their own. And now, here's your host.
Thank you, illustrious Brother Brian, for the intro.
Wow.
We are on episode 147.
147. 147. Wow.
147 of Masonic Light Podcast.
Still not in jail.
And our guest tonight's going to be a brother, Seth Rothberg from Dallas, Texas. Because Sean.
Good start, Pete.
Oh, good job.
I'm looking at my phone and I'm trying to pronounce.
Ladies and gentlemen, Phil Ruggieri.
Sean Cola, Shmuley.
Shekinah.
He did give us a lot of choices.
You gave me a lot of names and they're out of my Italian Catholic wheelhouse.
Boy, we went off the tracks before we ever left the station.
So, Sean, you can teach me proper how to say Jewish names.
Wow.
Sean?
Will do.
Yeah, how do you pronounce Sean? We're having trouble with that one.
I thought that was Scottish.
Just don't say scene.
Scene. I like that, though.
Scene.
That's good. That's Welsh, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I think.
Alrighty. So what we do here, Sean, is we go around the room. We talk about what we've been up to for the past 2 weeks. I'll start on my left, which tonight will be Brother Jack Harley.
Whoa. What did I do? I had a really busy week. It was great. On Saturday, I went to the Academy of Masonic Knowledge and got all knowledgeated. I'll talk a little bit more about it in a little short segment later on, but if you're a Pennsylvania Mason and you don't take advantage of the Academy, think about it. Just because it gets you thinking about thinking. So I encourage that. Then after the Academy, the following day, there was a DeMolay Legion of Honor degree, or not degree, but induction. So we took in, I think, 8 or so new Legionnaires into the Legion of Honor, and that was cool. Rick Freeman always does an amazing job on the ritual work there. And then on Sunday there was
Ubar
Grotto, which was a fantastic time, and we had a blast. And that's it. So now I'm here, and it's nothing but downhill.
Brother Sean, have you done anything Masonically in the past 2 weeks?
Actually, I have. I became a squire in the Knights of St. Andrews in Scottish Rite. I helped with the reunion. I was a double again in the 18th degree, if anyone knows that. And I just started the Master's Craftsman's program in the Southern Jurisdiction of Scottish Rite, and just going through a bunch of Masonic education. And right now I'm also trying to figure out what to do for my Junior Warden Minute for our state meeting coming up, and all that in the last 2 weeks.
Wait,
and I'm exhausted.
Wait, Junior Warden Minute. Tell us more about that.
Oh yeah, so I'm a Junior Warden in my Masonic Lodge, Richardson 1214, and in the Texas jurisdiction, we have every state meeting, the Junior Warden gives out a couple-minute Masonic education, and it could be anything from. My first time was actually doing the Mother Lodge by Brother Kipling, and I presented that.
One of my favorites. That's great.
And then the second one was actually a joke presentation that I got hazed when I was in EA. which props to the people that did that, which was the whole lodge.
Nice.
They
You must have reached out.
made me write a paper before I was raised. And I took that paper and I subsidized it to one page, and I presented that to my second minute, called the MEOWS program, the Masonic Education Operated Work Series. And yes, that was a joke thing said by our current Grand Orator, Texas.
Nice.
Did that. But that was 8 years ago.
Come here, right, meow.
All right. So that's a cool idea that any worshipful master listening can assign, or actually senior warden who's about to become worshipful master. Don't be afraid to assign your junior warden crazy stuff to do.
Junior deacon.
Junior deacon? Junior deacon.
I was an EA during that time.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Even better.
Yeah.
Even better. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
rock on.
Outstanding. All right. Cool. All right.
Josh Lamberton Killer.
Absolutely nothing.
Dun.
Just work
And
You're here tonight
podcast.
and podcast.
And
producing this podcast.
Of course.
And are you trying to end prohibition over there? What's going on
what?
in Lamberton Lodge? What are your Lamberton Killer?
I wouldn't know. I haven't been there.
Yeah, I'm just hearing about all this, but
I've been there and I know nothing.
What happens in Millersville?
Brother Tim.
I can't even say.
Brother Tim's got his Palm Pilot out, and he's ready to.
Oh, jeez.
He's ready to tell
Hey,
us.
for the record, I just want you to know that all four of us have some electronic device in front of us looking at calendars now so we can remember what we've done.
Au contraire, mon frere.
I am looking at Scott Helm's commercial that we have not recorded in 8 months, and he gave us $100
We're
8 months
sorry,
ago.
Scott.
So we're going to do it tonight.
We're so sorry.
We're going to do it tonight. All
and
right.
it's going to play for infinity.
It will. So I missed the last show. I was attending to things with my daughter, so it's good to be back. But since that time, I have been very busy. The Children's Dyslexia Center that is housed in the Valley of Harrisburg held a Dyslexia Center walkathon. I was on the sidelines cheering them on, welcoming them back.
That makes more sense than like
With a beef stick and a shot of liquor.
Like I never understood like the MDA walkathon.
Right.
Like those poor kids have enough problems.
Without making them
Without
walk
pointing them out.
2 miles.
Or like the bake sale for like
The
eating
Diabetes
disorders.
Center
yeah,
or something.
like
Yeah, right. Exactly. So the Harrisburg Council of Royal and Select Master Masons. I was at that stated meeting. The past masters of Eureka West Shore Lodge number 302 held our twice a year meeting where we got to hear from our current senior warden about to become master and his program. Last Tuesday, I was honored to attend the Valley of Lancaster's Lodge of Perfection reunion, where they put on a couple of degrees. Actually, they put on one degree and watched another one.
But what was kind of amazing, I was there too.
That's right.
The lead took ill or something and just couldn't be there. And a couple brothers stepped up and learned the degree in a couple days.
Correct. And they did a really good job. So nice work there. On Saturday, I was in attendance at the Grand Lodge with Robert Burns Lodge, where they conferred 2 third degrees. And then Sunday, I was actually at something Jack failed to mention, which was the Legion of Honor conferral with D. Millay.
Au contraire, mon frere.
Did you mention that? Okay, I was sleeping.
Thanks for paying attention.
All right. I was still trying to get things together. Anyway.
Extra credit points.
So I was there too. It was great conferral. If you've never seen that, you should go watch it. It's really,
So, Tim, you were busy every single night.
Yes.
Is this why you're divorced?
Exactly. Pretty much so.
Sean, take notice.
And then last night.
Have any time to sleep?
And then last night, no, I can sleep when I'm dead. Last night, I attended the Tall Cedars All Masonic Banquet that was sponsored by the Lancaster Valley. Is that correct? Or the Lancaster Forest. And got to see Larry presiding in that meeting. If you'll go to our Facebook page, you'll see him conferring the knife and fork degree. And that's it.
Wait, the knife and fork degree, does that have pancakes or green beans?
It depends.
Actually, neither.
Last night it was
turkey and mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes, and corn, an all-carb
buffet.
We call it 50 Shades of Gray.
It would be definitely chili, but make sure you don't. If it was chili, make sure you 86 the beans, because chili and beans do not go hand in hand.
That's correct. You don't put beans in chili. I agree.
Yeah.
Larry Merris, what have you been up to Masonically?
Well, as you know, I have been in New Hampshire for whatever. And I just really got back, so I didn't get to the Academy meeting. I did not get to the Ubar Grotto. But I did manage to get to Tall Cedars last night. And we had a great turnout. We did the knife and fork degree. And I want to say the entertainment that we booked was spectacular. And that's La La Luna. Folks, If you're looking for a women's ensemble for any of your events, these ladies are spectacular. They've got a piano player, they've got a violinist, they've got a guitar. And the work that the music that they provided was really fantastic. And before the show ends, I'll give you their contact because that's how good they were. And it was an enjoyable night, but that was it, just Tall Cedars.
Let's see. For me, I've been busy working as the assistant secretary at the Valley of Reading. I did attend the Valley of Lancaster's reunion. And I also, last night, we had our stated meeting for the Valley of Reading. And that was fun. I guess we can say fun. I'm not sure what we do at stated meetings.
You pay bills.
We open 4 different lodges. We pay bills. And we read the same report 4 times.
Oh.
Well, 3 times, because a lot of our members are dual members for the Lodge of Perfection in Lancaster. So the numbers there are a little bit off. But it's a good group of guys. And at the Valley of Reading, we're still trying to recover from an arson fire that happened a while back. So this coming Saturday, our candidates will be going up to the Valley of Allentown to receive their degrees instead of us doing them ourselves. So we're going to take a quick break, and we are going to come back, and we are going to talk to Brother Sean from Texas.
Tejas.
Tejas, yeah.
Tejas.
And we'll be right back.
Why choose George J. Grove & Sons for your next home improvement project? At George J. Grove & Sons, we've built our reputation on quality and trust for more than 50 years. From planning to materials to installation, George J. Grove promises a home improvement experience second to none. Whether your goal is reducing energy costs, decreasing maintenance, updating curb appeal, or simply increasing the value of your home, the George J. Grove team will recommend and provide solutions that stand the test of time. Call 717-393-0859 for an estimate or visit us at georgejgrove.com.
So we're back, and we're with Brother Sean from Texas, in the Dallas metro area. And Sean has actually, the reason you're here is because we had a previous guest who mentioned a website that you had started for Masons of the Jewish faith. And I'm very involved in a lodge near here in Maryland who is, the population is probably 50% Jewish. So I get a lot of that, but most people don't, I would have to say, right? You guys, you got like one Jewish person in your lodge? Or,
a few. But
you know, we had...
I mean, my high school class, we had like 1 or 2 Jewish kids.
So it's something that we're not really exposed to, but the ritual has us up to our necks in it. So tell us, how did you come to start this, Sean?
Yeah, thanks for having me. And so actually first I have to go back like 8 years or...
Oh, Lord.
I can't remember. I'm losing track of time. So when I was...
We only have about an hour, Sean, so that's just saying, right?
Okay, so I won't give him a whole deal.
Maybe not 8 years.
So when I went into the lodge for the first time, I was a practicing Orthodox Jew. The tzitzis, the strings were hanging out. My yarmulke was on.
Okay.
And I walked in, and everyone's like, "Oh, nice to meet you. And what's your name?" And I was like, "Sean Rothberg." And of course, the secretary asked at the time, he goes, "I know the answer, but I still have to ask, are you Jewish?" It gets better. And me being the smart ass,
jeez,
said, "Do you want to check?"
Oh, no. Okay.
Yes.
That's a hard no.
So, of course, I was accepted. And my dad, may he rest in peace, was also a brother, which really makes the whole family tree really, like, interesting when you think about it from that perspective. And I recently found out my great uncle was a brother. So that means my whole tree is, like, going in a circle. Ouroboros, I believe it's what's called. So just being Jewish and being a Mason, of course you have like things that attract people to who you are. And during the whole COVID time, because I think we're still in that time, I can't remember, time flies and you're 35 now and you're forgetting what you ate in the morning, or for some of these people on the podcast, I bet they're forgetting what they did 5 hours ago.
We were here trying to get the video to work.
I have shoes that are 35 years old. Don't worry.
Yeah. So I decided to look up Jewish Freemasons on Facebook, and I found two different groups. One was Jewish Freemasons with apostrophe S, and then another. And I'm a literature major.
No, I get it.
That's the joke.
The apostrophe catastrophe.
But I mean, those are great brothers, and then there's another one called Orthodox Jewish Mason, which is started by a brother in New York called Shlomo, and I joined both of them, and I decided to start one called Jewish Freemasons without the apostrophe. And then I promoted that on different groups, and of course some were like, "Well, I'm not Jewish, can I join?" And I'm like, "No, you can't." And then the whole argument over you're discriminating, and I say, "Well, look at Commandery, because they're discriminating against people that are not of the Christian faith," all this kind of stuff. And then after a while, I changed the name to the Masonic Kippah, which is kippah is a Hebrew word for the skull cap that Jews wear whenever we pray and to remind us of someone above us. But during that whole COVID time, I reached out to Brother Shlomo in New York, and I said, "We're all home. We're all stuck. Why don't we actually meet up and all have a Zoom meeting?" And that has actually stayed on progressively for the last 2.5 years, where we have always met up every Sunday to talk about either something Jewish, Masonic, or just pull out a scotch or whiskey and just start drinking and having fun.
Oh, I'm sorry, that would never work for this group. That's impossible.
But here's the best part. I have found brothers from around the world in Australia, Israel, England, the other 49 states besides Texas, Canada, Mexico, all around the world, and we have all connected and we've all talked, and it's interesting hearing different jurisdictions and what we do, but we all have a common theme. We're all Masons and we're all of the Jewish faith, and we all talk about the duality of having stuff either happening on Saturday or not happening on Saturday, or what happens, like in Judaism, you can't swear. So in some jurisdictions, they don't have people kneel down before the altar. Some they do. So it's all just interesting hearing different jurisdictions and how the faith can make a degree change periodically.
Did you come across anybody in your experience as a Mason, and I'm being specific to your lodges and the people that you met and encountered, did anybody have a problem with your faith?
Not a problem, but because in the last decade I have fluctuated between being a practicing Orthodox Jew and not. So it all spirals down to what happens on Saturdays. In Dallas, our reunions are on Saturdays because we're in the Bible Belt and the Christian Sabbath is on Sunday.
Okay.
So we don't have anything happening on Sunday Masonically. It's against our Grand Lodge rules. So I was needed to be on Saturday. And of course, as a Jew, we have guilt no matter what. Because
So are Masonic labors considered work? Is that the conundrum? Because you're not supposed to work on a Saturday, correct?
Well, it depends how Orthodox you go.
Traditionally, in the Jewish faith, you are not supposed to work, and the work is one of the 39 malachos, 39 restrictions, and that includes like starting a fire, which is turning the key into ignition, which gets the engine going. So you can't drive on Saturday. You can't combine two letters together, so you can't write. So a lot of this kind of stuff can't do. However, I don't keep what is called Shomer Shabbos, keeping the Sabbath. So I did go to the reunion, and people were coming up saying, "I know this is your holy day. Thank you for being here." And I'm like, I am kind of weaning off doing stuff on Saturdays. So that's the only restriction. And then, of course, you got people who might try to say that they learned stuff in seminary class about the Jewish faith, and they try to say certain words. Like a couple weeks ago, one brother, I gave him shit for this, was saying, "Oh, I learned about the Sanhedrin, And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "The Sanhedrin, the assembly of the judges." And I go, "Oh, you're talking Sanhedrin," because I've never heard the word Sanhedrin before. The whole pronunciation.
Right. Splitting hairs a little bit, but in general, why of all of the appendant bodies that you might have gone to, why Scottish Rite? If that was if it was always happening on Saturday.
That's a great answer. Great question. So in Jewish tradition, I will answer that by speaking for another 30 minutes before answering your question. I'm also a companion. I'm also in chapter council,
okay.
By the way.
Okay.
So my dad, Larry Rothberg, a blessed memory, he said to me when I was raised, Scottish Rite is the Jewish appended body. York Rite is a Christian one.
Interesting.
He wasn't completely wrong, but at the time I broke the Sabbath because I had a falling out, so to speak, of a relationship and stuff like that. So I decided to walk away. So I decided if I'm going to do anything, might as well join the Scottish Rite because I was 26 at the time. So if you join Scottish Rite under 30, they gave you like a 50% discount. So of course, the Jew in me jumped at that. So I joined the one-day reunion. Of course, he slept through 2 of those degrees because it starts at 6:30 in the morning. And I joined.
The donuts hadn't kicked in yet, obviously.
No. Neither did the coffee, believe it or not. And I learned later on, you always carry Red Bull in your car in a cooler.
Attaboy.
Those reunions. So I joined Scottish Rite because I wasn't keeping Sabbath. And my dad said that is the most Jewish one. And
Interesting.
And of course, God decided to play a practical joke on me and put me as a candidate for the 18th degree.
Oh, great. In the Southern jurisdiction, that's a very Christian degree.
I had a giant freaking red cross on me.
Nice.
I know. It was the biggest practical joke.
Acting.
That's pretty funny.
They slapped the red cross on me, and I looked at it and I go, I am breaking Sabbath, and I have a giant red cross on me.
So that possessed you to start a website for Jewish Freemasons. That makes perfect sense to me.
Nobody
would do
expects
that.
the Spanish Inquisition.
We are the Inquisition. So tell us a little bit about what you're still meeting now, right? So what does that look?
Last week we talked about how to bring the temple inside of ourselves, and actually used a book about Breslov philosophy, which is by Rebbe Nachman of Breslov, a Hasidic Rebbe who talked about spirituality through faith and Munah. And one of the commentaries on that talked about bringing the temple inside of us, like the foundation stone, bringing light to darkness, stuff like that. So we talked about how to bring King Solomon's temple and be a living stone of King Solomon's temple.
How far back do you have to reach for this? I mean, are we talking? We're not.
What do you mean?
Well, just in terms of
Research.
Not so much research, but as in terms of the history of Judaism. How far back do you have to reach to find a link to something that we would consider to be philosophical Masonry? Because that's really what you're talking about, right? You're talking about the Mishnah and people who are talking about these things, stones and light and all that.
You actually said Mishnah.
I mean, that's where you're going, right?
Actually, Mishnah is a little further back than I would go, but there are I'm calling out Brother Shlomo. He will go to the Mishnah and the Gemara on stuff.
Okay.
I would go to Rebbe Nachman of Breslov, the Tanya. Well, I could go to the Tanya, which is started by the Arizal. I could go to the Baal Shem Tov, which is before that. I could go to any of the Hasidic Rebbe's.
Okay.
But really, if you're going to find connections from theological to Masonry in the Jewish perspective, and I'm trying to avoid that K word that happens, that a lot of people love jumping to. You don't have to go back to that far. You could go back to any commentary from the Tanakh, from the Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim, which is the Torah, the prophets, and the writings. A lot of people would
that would be what we would call an Old Testament, right? I mean,
I call it the OG
with commentaries.
Yeah, the OG. And if anyone because of course, if anyone wants to find any great commentary, I will recommend them to the Stone Chumash, which is a blue book by Art Scroll, the Gutnick Chumash.
Pete, you're taking notes, so we can put this on the website.
I'm a failed Catholic, and I'm completely lost.
You can also jump into.
I'm drifting off.
So are these all different holy books? Because I mean, I'm only really familiar with the Torah.
So why don't we take a brief tour of those documents, those bodies of literature, and walk the typical,
treat me as a dumb white country guy,
Christian Freemason. Just kind of walk us through those documents. You've got the Torah, and you've got the Mishnah, and then you've got the commentaries.
If anyone's questioning, I went to yeshiva in Yerushalayim in 2013. I was only there for 2 months, in which day and night studying Judaism, studying the Mishnah, the Gemara, the Chumash, all that kind of stuff. So I didn't grow up as an Orthodox Jew. I became an Orthodox Jew later in life, which is called Baal Teshuvah, meaning a returnee. So pretty much I became a suspended Orthodox, suspended Jew, and I came back, jokingly. But the Torah is the scroll. The Torah is the scroll. No one has a Torah in their home unless they want to spend about $18,000 or $23,000, depending on who writes it. But because of everything happening now, I assume it's like minimum $20,000. So if you have $20,000, you could buy a Torah. If you don't have $20,000, then you have $20. You could buy something called a Chumash, Chumash, which is a book form. You could buy that, and that's a lot cheaper.
And for $1.95, you can get
and I'm guessing for $20,000, the scroll version of the Torah is all hand printed.
Oh yes,
it is not hand printed; it's handwritten by a guy who knows what he's doing. He's called a sofer. There is a sofer in Dallas. I don't know if he's still doing that. I actually saw his stuff, and he made a joke saying I should learn how to be a sofer because I'm left-handed. So because Hebrew is written right to left, I won't have to smear the ink, which is great because as a lefty writing calligraphy or fountain pen, you're always having that smeared ink on your arm.
My religion would have corrected that in you, but Sister Georgiana would have fixed you right up.
And that's called a schmear now, by the way. But Larry's impressed by the hand lettering of the Torah. I mean, that's
amazing. How long it would
talking to your microphone?
How long it would take just to do one of those? I mean, that's amazing.
And there's rules about how many errors there can be on a page,
exactly,
and how many.
Actually, that's a falsity. Actually, God's right about that.
Okay.
So the Torah is parchment sewn together. If there's an error anywhere. If the sofer writes an error, he actually has to take that parchment and deposit of it. If he messes up the name of God, he has to actually bury the Torah and start over all over again.
So not even an allowable error, but it's just destroyed to begin with.
Yeah, there are no errors anywhere on the Torah. If there is,
but I mean, the big error is you can't misspell the name of God.
Well, you can't write the name of God, even per se.
No, you can write the name of God because you have to do that. However, a sofer actually has to take the Torah and actually use another Torah to write from it because they have to keep it continuous. Mm-hmm. And the thing is that when the Torah is finished, after every parchment, I believe is what the rabbi told me, he has to take a photo of it, send it to another sofer to make sure he has no errors, because it has to be double checked, triple checked for each parchment, which is
that's some 21st century technology going back. going way back into that.
So I mean, when people say, "Do you have a Torah at home?" I go, "I have the book version. Does that count?" And the book version, I mean. Like I'm literally holding that.
I have a little tiny mezuzah in the door in the hallway, but
so the mezuzah is actually also handwritten by a sofer, and that is the Shema, V'Hafta, and Vayomer. Shema, V'Hafta, V'Haya, Vayomer is written on the mezuzah, and that is the kind of declaration of faith that every Jew says in the morning and evening. And that's on the parchment. It's not printed. If it's printed, it is usser, which is Yiddish for like treif. And that is actually rolled up and put into a little box, or it could be made out of Legos I've seen. And that's on the doorpost. And it can either be vertical or tilted, because we all do the tilted version to go halfway between rock and Rabbeinu Tam.
All I know is it's between me and my cup of coffee in the first thing in the morning. That's
It sounds really complicated to be very, very orthodox.
Oh, it is. Absolutely.
No. See, here's the thing. It's not complicated when you know everything, because it becomes second nature. Is it complicated to be a master mason? No. Because we all know what we're obligated on. We all know for example, the winding stairs. We know the pillars. We know the columns. We know what 357 is. We all know the officers. We all know the duties. It's not complicated.
Have you ever been to Pennsylvania?
Some of you cool people in those cool jurisdictions know those things.
Yeah.
In Pennsylvania, we don't have any of that, Sean. Just for a little bit of background on
Scottish
us.
Rite gets in.
But we gotta we need to take a quick break because
I've been
Larry's
here
going to
4
burst.
hours, and I really need to go to the bathroom.
As far back as the mid-1800s, records exist describing the pre-meeting tradition of brethren smoking cigars during and after gatherings. To this day, the practice of smoking cigars remains very much alive in many lodges. This custom is considered a time for brethren to relax, exchange ideas, and enjoy the simplicity and fellowship that is the very essence of our brotherhood. This is what Hiram Solomon Cigars is all about. Our starting principles are to bring Masonic brethren together in the harmony of a good cigar. Pull up a chair, sit back, light up any of our premium cigars, and enjoy the history. Hiram Solomon Cigars can be found at fine cigar retailers. For a complete list, visit HiramandSolomonCigars.com or check them out on social media to find out when they'll be at a live event near you. Hiram Solomon Cigars is pleased to be the official cigar of the Masonic Light Podcast.
Hey, we're back. Everybody. What are we going to talk about?
Damn, Larry, you are such a pro.
He's gonna talk
It's
about his
amazing.
website.
Sean, tell us about your Facebook page, how people can find it,
Okay.
what kind of stuff they talk about, what you drink, all these good things.
Okay. The Facebook group is called the Masonic Keepa, and just for if anyone's interested, the only prerequisite is to be a Mason and Jewish. When you click join, there will be 3 questions asked of you, and they are Jewish questions and Masonic questions because it goes right to me, and I hate when people join and they don't answer freaking questions. Sorry, that's a little pet peeve of mine.
We don't accept cash.
No, we do not accept. Well, I'll accept cash to the Rothberg Scholarship Foundation.
Ah, there you go. No, that was an inside joke for Pete and.
Okay, well,
and
I mean that's also going to me too. And the group will talk. People will post stuff, their Masonic stuff, Jewish questions, anything that relates to Masonry and or being Jewish. And every week we get on a Zoom call and we will talk about certain things. Like recently, we had the Jewish holiday of Shmini Atzeres, Simchas Torah, and we'll talk about like how Torah and Masonry connect. Sometimes we'll talk about it. Sometimes we'll just schmooze and just get off topic because either I will do it or another brother will get off topic. And people can bring what.
So you've got the Facebook page where it's just general threads and chats, but then you also still do a Sunday Zoom call.
Yeah, so like recently today, I actually got the Masonic records for my great uncle, and because I found out his Scottish Rite records at Dallas Scottish Rite, so I had to call around Grand Lodge of Missouri, and then I later found out somehow that he was Grand Lodge Missouri Scottish Rite sent me something that showed Kentucky. So I had to call Grand Lodge, Kentucky. So when I got his Masonic records, I was laughing because I was thinking a Jew walks into Kentucky. It's like the beginning of a joke.
Right.
But this actually happened. So
Did you have to get a translator to speak to the people from Kentucky?
Yeah, like I mean,
If you ever need one, just let me know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's Kentucky. Does anyone actually go there?
There's all right. So all right.
So I posted today on my Facebook group about my great uncle saying that a Jew in Kentucky becomes a brother. That is like the start of a punchline, but that is the punchline. So I mean, like we'll talk about stuff. Like one guy posted that he just got his fellowcraft, and he lives in Israel, and present in his fellowcraft degree for his passing was the Grand Master of Israel.
Cool.
Was present there. So that was like connecting two of our interests together in one place. And I'm going to also say that...
well, hang on a minute. I just want to kind of elaborate on that. You're touching an area that is really sensitive politically and religiously and all of that kind of stuff. And you're reaching people that are on both sides of whatever political or military or religious argument there is. That's fantastic. And congratulations for that, because that's huge.
No,
and we need more of that.
It is amazing when we've had brothers in Israel, and believe it or not, in my Facebook, starting it and connecting with Shlomo from the Orthodox Jewish Mason Facebook group, we've found brothers who are actually rabbis. The head rabbi of Sydney, Australia, the Chabad rabbi of Sydney, Australia, is a fellow brother. And Rabbi Danny, I'm calling him out. He is an amazing guy. He's given shirs, which is Yiddish for lectures, about his connection between Masonry and the Jewish faith. And it is an amazing thing to hear about. And I've also...
Yeah, that's fantastic. So you're reaching an international audience of guys that are just getting together occasionally to talk about stuff.
Oh, and I found
Masonic.
people from
That's
Brazil.
awesome.
I found brothers from Brazil. I found brothers from Colombia. I found all over, and it's interesting because we all will be either Reform, Conservative, or Orthodox. We're all meeting, we're all talking, but we're all get to meet upon the level, and we get to end our meetings by partying upon the square.
Awesome. That's what it's all about. Yep.
Brother Sean, thank you for coming on. So just tell them what's the search, the Masonic Kippah, correct?
The Masonic Kippah, and I also want to plug this idea. If any brother is not Jewish but loves this idea, feel free to start a Catholic Freemason group, a Baptist one, a Muslim one. The idea that we can connect in a niche within a niche in our own faith and brotherhood. We are not doing anything wrong with the brotherhood. We're finding other brothers with common interests. And that is what my group and Shlomo's group has also done. We found a niche within a niche. And it's a great idea.
Thank you, Brother Shaw. Now, stick with us. Okay. We're going to have our next little segment right here.
If you would like to stick with us, you are certainly welcome to stick with us. You may be bored beyond belief for what happens next, but if you'd like to
stick with us, we would love to have you for the last 10 minutes of the show.
And we're going to take a break right now. Hang on. We'll be right back.
Okay, we'll take a break.
Hello, brethren. Dutchie Doug is back with an update from my lodge, the Brogan Plough number 377. Well, now it's October, and that means that the leaves are making dawn, and it's spooky season. Last October, I told you about our lodge ghost, Josiah Geist. Now, every now and then, he will get active in the temple. One just never knows. Now, this year, I have another otherworldly story to share. Last week was our stated meeting, and it ran a little late since we got into a discussion about something. I don't really remember because I kept checking my phone to see if the Phillies were winning their baseball game. In any event, after the meeting was over, Brother Elias Laudermacher and George Friedhof were on their way home. You see, Elias and George are neighbors and live within walking distance of the lodge. The air was crisp and the moon was full. The most direct route home for them is through St. Peter's Lutheran Cemetery. The church and cemetery date back to the 1700s and is full of old stones, many carved in German. Normally their walks home are event-free, but this evening proved to be a different experience. As normal, the brethren passed through the giant iron gates that guard the cemetery. They were each talking about their plans for the upcoming week, when all of a sudden they heard a weird sound. Tink, tink, tink. They looked around and saw no one in the cemetery. They both shrugged their shoulders and continued on. Not 5 seconds had passed when again they heard tink, tink, tink. A chill ran up their spines. They both looked at each other with eyes wide open. Their hearts started to race. Their palms went cold and clammy. And again, they looked around and scanned the cemetery, but didn't see anything. They took a few more steps and heard it again. Tink, tink, tink. Elias grabbed George's arm just as if he was going to guide him through a degree. A few steps more, and they ran into a small man kneeling down at a tombstone. He had a hammer in one hand and a stone chisel in the other. There he was, cutting at the stone. Tink, tink, tink. Harry, shouted George, we thought you were a ghost. What in God's name are you doing out here in the middle of the night chiseling away at that tombstone? I'm sorry to have startled you, gentlemen, the man said, and went right back to work. George asked him again, but what are you doing? The man slowly turned, looked at them, and said, the jackass has spelled my name wrong. And all of a sudden he disappeared. George and Elias couldn't believe what they had saw, but didn't hang around to think about it. They double-quicked through the cemetery and didn't stop till they got home. Till next time, work hard, stay plumb, and out in the lights when you leave the room. To learn more about the Pennsylvania Dutch language, culture, and history, please visit my website, padutch101.com, or my YouTube channel. Just search Doug Maidenford.
And we're back with a special segment by Brother Jack, who's going to talk to us a little bit about his attendance at the Academy of Masonic Knowledge this past weekend.
So we were talking about this over dinner before the recording session started, and I told the guys I went to the Academy of Masonic Knowledge in Pennsylvania, and it happens twice a year, usually at Masonic Villages in Elizabethtown. And there's usually 2 or 3 speakers who come in and talk about some Masonic topic, right? It's actually kind of the genesis of this show, because there was another podcast that did a show from there, and talked about podcasts, and Pete and Larry decided they were going to start a podcast. So, long story short, if you have the opportunity to go to the Academy of Masonic Knowledge, just come out. It's a Saturday morning. Put a coat and tie on. But
they live stream the thing.
No, come out.
I know, you should come out.
You should come out because it's a fellowship thing. And if you don't fellowship, then you're only getting part of the deal. But long story short, the 2 speakers, I looked at the notice that came out and I said, ew, really? Ew. An obscure Masonic appendant body that I don't know anything about, and leadership training. Ew. I can't think of 2 things I would less like to spend a Saturday morning listening about than these 2 topics.
Come on, leadership training is fun.
No. It was fantastic. The 2 speakers, the first was David Hostler, and Dave is an Indiana Mason, and he did the discussion on was servant leadership was the topic. I made notes in my phone. I mean, I was actually taking like topic headings.
Copious notes?
Not copious notes. Okay. Copious notes fell over the night or water or something. I don't know. Anyway, but I did. But it was great. He was spot on. Dave was spot on. We're going to try to have him on as a guest.
Yes.
But he was talking about leadership. And as many times as I've heard the leadership lecture, he tied it back to Masonry, and it was fantastic. And so congratulations to Dave for that. The other was Brother Thomas A. Worrell. And Brother Worrell talked about an obscure Masonic side degree that was existent for a period of time. I'm not really sure how long, but it sort of died out in the early 1800s. But his talk was outstanding. And I wanted to hate both of these talks, and I didn't. It was a really good experience, and congratulations.
So for our listeners, if you look up Academy of Masonic Knowledge on YouTube, both of those topics are videos, so you can watch both of those talks and
Right, the whole thing. Yeah,
give
absolutely.
us your own feedback on those two topics.
So that was it. That's in lieu of Masonic news because there's really nothing in the news that's very funny right now. So I kind of skipped that. But anyway, that's my thing. All right.
All right, so Brother Josh, what have you...
What the hell was that?
I think Larry just got an alert that the Phillies are practicing or something.
Josh, do you have anything coming up Masonically in the next 2 weeks?
Other than working on the podcast, I don't think so.
All right, Brother Sean, what are you doing in the next couple weeks in Freemasonry?
What's today?
Wednesday.
Okay, so next week I have we're receiving our DDGM, so I have to come up with a Junior Warden minute to talk about that is good.
That's a good start.
Sounds
That's
like
a good
they're as
start.
interesting there as they are here.
Yeah, it's not like reading out the law book. It's going to be really interesting because no one reads that for fun.
Do you have thumbs in Freemasonry in Texas?
Yes, they
Do
do.
we have what?
Thumbs. Like in Pennsylvania.
Sorry, I can't understand y'all's Yankee talk.
So in Pennsylvania, when we put our hand over our heart to pledge allegiance, the thumb has to. We don't see thumbs.
You have to like tuck it.
The thumb has to be tucked in.
We use our thumbs because how else are we going to eat chili?
Okay.
Yeah, so we always have to hide our thumbs, and I always have to remind people to
So
don't
next
do the
week-
Mickey Mouse hand.
Yeah.
So next 2 weeks it's going to be state meeting for my Blue Lodge. I'm gonna because of the first Monday is when York Right meets. So it's either going to be chapter or council, whatever color email I receive is what I'll know what to do.
Take notice, Pennsylvania Red Houses.
Color your notice?
No, the fact that they rotate when they meet.
Oh.
Yeah, each one of our bodies thinks they have to have their own meeting.
Yeah, like chapter and council. It's like every other month is what we do.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Please.
so like 1 month is chapter, 1 month is
Yes,
council.
yes, amen.
Yeah, we
Whatever.
Yeah, it's so much easier. And I think because I'm an advisor for DMLA and I'm going to have to show up, that's sometime whenever I receive that text message. All I know is it's going to be starting November, so it's all going to be state meeting stuff. And that's about it.
Brother Jack, what do you got coming up?
I don't know. I was quick scrolling through my calendar to see what it is. I did notice that our next recording date is November the 9th. We record on the second and fourth Wednesday.
Yes.
Stop on by Effort Lodge 665 and come to the back door and pound really hard because we won't hear you. But I will not be here because I will be speaking at Stichter Lodge in Pottsville on some subject Masonic. So they have me to look forward to.
Watch out for deer.
Yep.
Whoa ho.
I'm going to cough right now.
Do it. Cough
So-
button. Cough button. Do we have a cough button? No, we don't have a cough
So
button.
tomorrow morning, I'll be on a flight at 6:30 to go to a semi-related, non-related Masonic event in Fort Lauderdale, which I cannot speak of. When I come back, I'll be doing Valley of Reading type things. And I think that's really it for me. Larry's still in the restroom.
All right.
Larry really did have to pee this
He
time.
really did. All right, so I'll take over for Pete while he's having a coughing attack here.
Apparently, this isn't Coke in my cup.
Coming up on Friday, the U.S. Marine Corps Band will be doing a concert at the Valley of Harrisburg.
Ooh, cool.
Big Valley. And on Saturday, we're hosting a murder mystery dinner.
Note to Josh, look up the music for the old TV show The Big Valley.
There you go.
The Big Valley, yeah. There's a theme song there.
And if you guys are familiar with Harrisburg, the murder mystery dinner, they just open the door and find a random body on the street.
Right. All murders and Harrisburg are mysteries. So anyway,
they don't really investigate them.
Yeah, right. So there are a ton of prep meetings for upcoming reunion that I'll just kind of generically talk about that. But that's about it. Other than and this is Masonic because it's actually civic duty. I serve as a judge of elections in my precinct, and so over the next 2 weeks, we'll be prepping and getting our crew together for election day. And so there'll be a lot of meetings involved in that.
Are you looking for lots of dead people to vote?
No.
Okay, just checking.
They're not allowed.
And I'll be Larry here for a second. Goose and gridiron on Thursday. And stated meeting will be Veterans Night. I was in the Navy, let them know. I was in Key West during Vietnam. It was awesome.
I was an air traffic controller.
All righty. So, I don't know. Larry's gone.
So I guess we'll have to do our closing without him.
Play the chickens
Play the
fade
chickens
to black.
And we'll do it.
Here we go.
Thanks to Everett Lodge number 665
for storing our equipment.
And making these facilities available.
Thanks to Josh Lambert, our producer.
Who makes these listenable. Michelle Snyder.
Jim Stevens.
Dutchie Doug.
That guy from the Scottish Rite magazine.
Adam Schifrin. All the other contributors to the Masonic Light podcast.
I got a story for you.
Once upon a time. No, we're not going to do a story.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Brother Sean.
Sean, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Wait,
Can somebody check on Larry? Should we call the fire department?